Hey everyone, can you hear me? I was in the wrong room there for a minute. Everyone hear me okay? Oh, excellent, excellent. I signed on way early because I anticipated technical difficulties, and yeah, I signed into the wrong room. Whoops. Here I am though. Good to see everyone. Um, nice. I recognize some of your names from last time I did this. So, yeah, my name is Ralph Andres. One second, I just disappeared again. Ooh, uh-oh. Okay, hold on one second. I don't know what I did here. Okay, I think I'm back. Can everyone hear me? Can anyone hear me? Oh no. Oh, great. Okay, awesome. I'm back. Good. Sorry about that, everyone. Great. All right. So I'll jump right in. Sorry about the confusion there. For some reason, YouTube just does not get along with me. So yeah, I'm Ralph Andres, filling in for my good buddy Andrew. I'm always really happy to be here with y'all. Such a cool community. So when I asked Andrew if there was anything I should get into today, he said that there were some questions in the community about the difference between rest and gone. So we're going to get into that a little bit. I want to say first, it's good to have these terms. It's good to have, this whole system. Uh, but it's good to not get too caught up on the terms. You can disambiguate certain techniques, certain practices, but it's really the experience that we're going to be pointing to today. So I'll go ahead and give like a little 5-minute talk ahead of time, but this will be more of an experiential tour of rest, gone, and a little bit of absolute rest as well. Um, oh, thank you, thank you. So rest is defined in unified mindfulness at least as the relative lack of activity in one of the sense gates of see, hear, and feel. Whereas gone is the vanishing of a sensory phenomenon, like a mental image. And we'll be working primarily in see space today, so see in and see out. So I'll use that as an example. Say you have a mental image of something neutral, a coffee mug, right? That image drops away, either revealing the blank mental screen or the next image that's coming to mind. That vanishing of the image is gone. Whatever it leaves in its tracks doesn't matter. It's the disappearance, that vanishing of the mental image. Whereas with rest, it's the relative lack of activity, right? So you might have an image in the mind of a coffee mug that's like super bright, really active, really tugs at the senses. You might have that same image, it's kind of dull, a little bit muted, a little bit more restful, a little bit less activity. And there can also be no activity in mental image space, which is kind of what happens when gone happens sometimes. Image might vanish, and then there's no activity in mental image space, right? So that's a kind of rest. But gone is referring to that vanishing rather than that restful kind of blank mental screen that comes into view when the image drops away. So rest has that relativity built into it. So, a really bright image is more active than a really dull one, or no image at all. I hope that makes some sense. It'll make more sense as we go into the practice. But yeah, I hope that disambiguates. Gone, the vanishing, rest is, yeah, great question. I'll get to that in 1 second. Rest is that relative lack of activation, right? Which could be no activation at all. Now, see rest. This is a tricky one, and the question is, what is see rest? I've heard different versions, inner eyelids versus a space for the images. Yeah, there's some controversy on this, and I'd have to run it up the chain to Shinzen again to get the official answer, because I think it has changed a bit. For the purposes of this practice, I'm going to say that C rest with the eyes closed is when there's just no imagery there. You can define that as, the space of, how'd you put it here? The space for the images becomes clear and blank, but that's also kind of what appears, on the backs of your eyelids. So we don't have to disambiguate that too much. It's just if there's no mental image in the mind, that's C rest. And typically what comes into view there is that blank mental screen. And we'll be doing a lot around kind of gazing into the blank mental screen too. So if it's not clear now, please re-ask after the guidance and we'll get back into that. Yeah. So I'm going to introduce one more term. And again, we don't want to get too caught up in terminology, but there is one called absolute rest. And Andrew mentioned that, there's an interest in non-duality here, and that's where the non-dual comes in. Absolute rest is when there's a flavor of non-separation, non-separateness, or non-duality without reference to form. And what that means when we're speaking visually here, it's when there's no form in the mind, so no mental imagery, and there's a sense of non-separateness, of no observer, no observed. That's what we're going to be pointing to today. Now, there doesn't have to be a full gawning of mental images in order to kind of get to that space of non-duality. I'll be speaking to how, relative rest can also bring us there. And eventually we can actually do it even when there is form in the mind. That's something called absolute activity, and it's a whole other class, unfortunately, but I'd be happy to come back and do that as well. If you don't listen to anything else I say today, listen to this. I'll define the kind of non-dual awareness that I'll be pointing to. So awareness is like space. And if you can even feel into this as I'm saying it, that's great. It's like space in that it's not a thing. Often we feel like we're a thing within a world of things. That's one perspective. That's duality. I'm here. My phone is here. I'm kind of seeing my phone from in here, right? Thing seeing a thing. Right? Space is not a thing. We know what it is, but we can't really point to it. There's no location for it in a way. It's kind of omnipresent, right? We can't grab it. We can't come to know it like a thing either. That is just like awareness. Awareness is not a thing that we can point to. It's not a thing we can grab. We have to get to know it in a different way. We have to kind of rest into it. What separates awareness from space? Right? Awareness is here, is everywhere. Sound was better when the phone was held up. Oh, thank you. That means that my mic is on here. So I'm just going to put my phone here. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Okay, so awareness, unlike space, has this knowing quality, almost infused within it. Okay, cool. Thank you. So, again, I'll take my phone, wave it across the screen. You can come to know that as a thing that's getting to know a thing, or you can even have the experience. This is more the non-dual flavor of things, that this phone is actually moving through a space that's already aware. We get to know it right where it is. We're not a thing here, noticing a thing here, but rather all of this is being known by a kind of spacious awareness. You can imagine this or conceptualize it as the space right around you right now, being infused with this kind of knowing quality. A really bad joke that points to this and also points to why it's really hard to teach. The joke is there's a fish swimming in the ocean. A seagull kind of swoops down and says, "How's the water today?" And the fish says, "What the hell is water?" Awareness is kind of like that. It's so close that we don't notice it. It has to be pointed out. Over time, it can click just like that, but it can't be pointed to again like a phone. Yeah, how do I say this next part? It can seem irrelevant to the ego. That's what makes it pointing it out so hard as well. I'm going to be pointing to the space between mental images, the space where there's there's not yet an image of the self. There's not yet an image of the world. Self and world have not yet been constructed. It's the openness before kind of observer and observed opens up. There's nothing there, and I'll be pointing to what's there. But the ego is going to say, who cares? That's why it's important to stay mindful in those gaps. And I won't say too much more about that, actually. We'll jump into the practice very soon. But we often move through life, again, identified with this self, with this body mind. I don't know about you all, but like this mind is changing constantly. This body is changing constantly. It's a bad place to take refuge when we can rest back into that non-dual awareness, spacious awareness, awake awareness, whatever you want to call it. There's a stability there. Again, it's not a thing, so we're not grasping at it, we're resting into it. But there's a kind of primordial wakefulness that's there. And I know these words all sound very big, but they describe something very simple. And when we can rest there, we're not so caught up in the constant impermanence of everything. It gives us a place to rest. It gives us a place to become a little bit less involved in the afflictive emotions that we all feel. As I'm sure many of you have experienced, when you're in a bad mood or you're stressed out, the more you get involved with that, it's like quicksand, right? The more you struggle, the deeper you go. This gives us a space to relax back. Awareness allows all, holds on to none, pure equanimity. So that's what we're going to be getting into today. Before I jump in, any questions? I know that was a lot up front. Awareness, space, relation to impermanence. Yeah, so another way awareness is described, particularly in Zen, is as the unborn. Everything that's born dies. Every compounded thing is impermanent. Bodies are impermanent. Phones are impermanent. I just had to get a new one because I dropped my old one. Things are impermanent. Awareness is not. And that's not to reify it, but it's to say that it's not an object that's born into space. It's rather the condition or the context of everything. That's a pretty esoteric answer, isn't it? This stuff is tough to talk about. Does that make some sense? And again, we're not trying to grasp this cerebrally. So we'll be getting into the more experiential aspects of it during the sit. But does that answer some of your question? Okay, I'm going to grab my bell real quick. And if any other questions come up in the next 3 seconds, just put them in the chat. Yeah. Not grasping it cerebrally. Okay, that can be a good thing. This stuff is really, again, difficult to point to. Can be supremely frustrating. And when I was getting these teachings ages ago and I couldn't get my head around them, I can remember the frustration and I relate to it well. And now I'm the guy up here saying all the frustrating things. So my advice would be, any confusion, any frustration that comes up, notice the impermanence of that. Notice that it's just being known. Don't get involved with it. Let it kind of self-liberate. And that's a term that'll come up during the guidance. One more thing to say, just the structure of the sit. I don't know how familiar everyone is with unified mindfulness, but we have these 3 skills of mindfulness that are concentration, clarity, and equanimity. This is going to be a tour of those skills, but in a way that they're naturally occurring, in the way that they are built into awareness itself, essentially. So that's enough from me. We'll meditate for about 25 minutes, if that's okay, and I'm willing to stay on as long as everyone wants to answer questions and talk about practice. So thanks for showing up, by the way. I'm so happy to be here. So lengthening through the crown of the head, straightening the spine. Relaxing the jaw, relaxing the shoulders. Relaxing everything that will agree to relax, and everything else, let it relax in its own time. And for a few cycles of breath, just coming into the present moment, letting everything settle. And we're going to start with just a quick warm-up practice, little thought experiment. So with the eyes closed, bring to mind image of a feather. And just holding that in the mind's eye. Noticing its characteristics. Is it pretty bright? Or is it kind of vague and ephemeral? Is it slipping in and out of awareness? Or is it pretty solid? Anything in between? And now bringing to mind the image of a bowling ball and examining those same characteristics. Is it solid and constant? Is it kind of fading in and out? Again, anywhere in between. And now toggle between the two. And I'm just going to ask a question. Which is heavier, the feather or the bowling ball? Now, if the answer came to you and said, the bowling ball, obviously, what I'm actually asking is the weight of the thoughts themselves. We often take the images in the mind to be the objects they represent, but both of these thoughts are the same weight. They are weightless, like rainbows. They seem to have substance, but when we look at them, they really don't. We get pulled this way and that by thoughts so often in our lives. We can tune into them in this way. Their pull on us can start to lessen, become more restful. And with that, letting go of those images and just focusing on that blank mental screen in front of you. So we're going to be leaving body sensations and sounds in the background. And for the moment, we'll leave mental images in the background as well. So just gaze into whatever is appearing on the back of your eyelids, like you're looking into a night sky. And just rest here. I'm just going to do a couple pointers here. And all you have to do is maintain a light focus on the blank mental screen. You might get pulled away, that's fine. Just come back. Noticing the lack of activity there. The first thing I'm going to ask is, without reference to thought, how big is the blank mental screen? An image of your face may come into the mind, and you may think, well, it's about the size of my face. But again, without reference to thought, how big is the blank mental screen? Often when we close the eyes, we say we don't see anything. There's just this darkness. This is important. That darkness is not nothing. It may be uniformly black. There might be some light coming through, some color. More importantly, there is this sense of presence. That blank mental screen has a luminous quality to it. It is lit up. If you try to see with your hand, that's seeing nothing. What you're seeing in front of you is, again, a kind of darkness that is lit up with presence. And if that's not landing for you right now, don't worry one bit. Just rest the gaze there. And just gently see if you can experience what I'm referring to. Again, no pressure. Being able to notice the restful aspects of the blank mental screen is enough. Notice that you can't turn off the blank mental screen. That can also be a good hint. Any frustration, any thoughts in the form of mental images that arise, notice they don't affect the blank mental screen. They don't affect this sense of presence. We don't have to cultivate, nor do we have to maintain it. Again, resting the gaze on the blank mental screen, noticing that part of our visual experience that we don't have to turn on, and we also cannot turn off. And simply rest here. No need to do anything. Now, I'm going to allow mental images into the practice, so we'll be focusing solely on sea space. So, mental images and whatever appears when those mental images drop away, that blank mental screen. But body sensations, sounds are all going to go in the background for now. So simply noticing when an image is present and that space between the images. If you want to use a label, I would recommend using the label C when a mental image is present. When there's not one present, just be with that blank mental screen. No need for a label there. Just absorb whatever is present between the thoughts. And just as that original wakefulness that we saw with the blank mental screen doesn't require any effort, so knowing whether there's a mental image present or if it's just a blank mental screen, that knowing happens all on its own as well, without any effort. That is the aware quality, is the mind inhabited by a mental image, or is there nothing there? Really inhabit that space between thoughts as best you can. We are conditioned to really be pulled towards thought. We're reversing that current. Notice that moment between thoughts, that short gap that may appear. Notice if there can be any problem. Notice any sense of self or other that is absent during that gap. Some things you may notice as you rest in that gap between thoughts, even if for a microsecond. You may notice that thoughts, mental images become a little bit more restful as we privilege the blank mental screen. They might not be as bright, they may not pull at the senses as much. And remember that exercise. These thoughts have no real substance, so just let them come and go. No need to get involved with them. No need to link them together into a narrative. Just noticing, is the mind active, relatively restful, or again, just empty? Noticing the moment that image vanishes. That is the gawning. Also notice if images are becoming more muted, more restful. They don't have to. You may also notice the space around these images. And what is knowing these images? What is knowing the blank mental screen? Resting back and watching how everything is just known all on its own, without making an effort. And simply rest as that knowing. That gap between thoughts, again, is not nothing. There is a kind of presence there. We may not be aware of self and other, may not be aware of the body, but there is that lit up quality of the blank mental screen. Notice the peace that you can find there. Notice the lack of any problem, anything that needs to be fixed or done. There's just presence. Just as a mirror isn't stained by the reflections within it, so this sense of presence, this original wakefulness, is not stained by anything that passes through it. That original wakefulness, that presence that we find in the blank mental screen, it's like a naturally occurring form of concentration. It's not one we have to effort to contact, rather something we rest back into. Our ability to discern between the blank mental screen and the thoughts that arise within the mind happens naturally, again, without effort. That is the natural clarity. And the fact that it allows everything and holds on to nothing is a naturally occurring form of equanimity. And again, it's something we rest back into, not something we effort towards. So now we let go of all effort, with the exception of the gentle effort to stay with what we see. Very gentle effort. And simply let go of the preference for thought as opposed to non-thought. Don't get involved with any images that enter the mind. Just let them pass, let them self-liberate. Notice that when we do nothing about them, they disappear all on their own. This is a kind of version of the do nothing technique that I like to call do as little as possible. So again, just making that effort to stay with what we see. Thoughts are not the problem. It's our relationship to them that causes suffering. So just take a relationship of indifference, not getting involved. Non-dual awareness is something that we already are. So simply rest back into that condition. And if this seems inscrutable, that's fine. Just rest back. Just don't get involved. When you find yourself getting involved, just let go. And let go again. And this spacious, non-dual awareness is like space in that it's not a thing. And that space is filled with a kind of presence, a kind of knowing. When we rest into that condition, the light of awareness burns up whatever enters it. Thoughts, mental images arise, they pass all on their own. You may even notice that same light of awareness, that same presence within these mental images. Sometimes described as the light behind there being something rather than nothing. The groundless ground of experience. Again, when that gap appears between thoughts, what happens to you? What happens to self? What happens to other? If even for a split second, you can rest as that space. For the last few minutes of this sit, we're going to go ahead and open the eyes if that's comfortable for you. I'm going to let go of that practice and I'm going to do just 2 quick non-dual pointers. And this is something that doesn't have to land now, something that you can kind of carry with you. So take a soft gaze, which means kind of open up your periphery visual screen. And don't necessarily pick out different objects in the room, but let that soft gaze, let that openness be your focus range. And now another little thought experiment. If this was all a dream, where would your mind be? In a dream, everything within the dream, your own body, objects in the dream, even the space between them. It's all the same mind. It's all the same dream material. So again, if this was all a dream, where would your mind be? Wouldn't it be everywhere? Wouldn't it be everything? And that's how it is with awareness, much like that. See if you can feel into that for a few moments. And just one more pointer. Without referencing thought, what's missing from this moment? Without referencing thought, what's missing from this moment? Can there be anything missing when we don't reference thought? Okay, great. Thanks for sitting with me, everyone. I know that was kind of a whirlwind guidance with a lot in there. So please, any questions, comments, reports? It's weird. I'm used to being able to see everyone's faces. So yeah, it's strange. I couldn't tell if anyone was totally lost or not. I hope some of that landed. But yeah, please, any questions, comments, reports? Did anyone hate that? I'm always interested to hear that as well. Thank you, Paul. Um, yeah, so just to be clear, this is like really deep end of the pool stuff. So if any of it didn't land, that's okay. uh, the way this stuff started sinking in for me was, doing sits like that, and just over time, one way they describe awakening is like walking through the mist, and before you know it, you're like your shirt is soaked. It's kind of like that. So it's just patience and sticking with the practice. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, Colette, that you were lost. I packed a little bit too much in there, if I'm being honest. Was trying to kind of get through it all. But with a lot of the non dual stuff, I find that sometimes better to do kind of a tour of things that might be pretty quick, just to give people little glimpses. And then you can kind of bring whatever worked for you on the road and kind of recreate the glimpse and, bring it into your own practice. So rarely have visual images sitting on my deck. Remember. Great. Yeah. Sheila, I should have mentioned that if I didn't. If you don't really experience mental images, that's not a bad thing. In fact, it can be great because you're always kind of in a restful state, when you're focusing on mental images or rather in visual space. You're automatically kind of visually restful. So that can be a good thing. I hope that, kind of worked with the guidance today. Um, One quick question. Oh yes, you already know this. Okay, great. Never mind my question. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure Andrew's pointed that out to you before too. Cool. Anything else come up for folks? That was because I touched the blank nothing and it felt like falling back into a quiet stream. Oh, that's great. Then I felt my heartbeat and it was like a gentle wave. Very amazing. Impossible to describe. Oh, what an awesome report. Don't worry about describing it. Um, like I said, it's experiential. It can be really difficult to point to this stuff with words, specifically because language requires a duality. So using dualistic language to describe some of these things, words can be pointers, but that's about it. um but yeah, continue to sit with that. Whatever came up today, that's sounds like a great experience. So I'm glad it happened for you. Yeah. um I like falling back into a quiet stream as well. I often call it a trust fall into being. Uh, it's more of a resting back than it is like, if you're familiar with Vipassana, there's a lot of efforting that goes on, and there's a reason for that. And that's great practice too. With this stuff, it is more of a relaxing back into what we already are, as Ajahn Chah says, calling off the search. Yeah. Great, great, yeah. I'll go ahead and put my email in the chat too. If anybody has questions that come up later when you watch the recording or anything, feel free to hit me up anytime. I love talking about this stuff. I do one-on-one stuff as well, but if you just want to, check in and have a question, I'm happy to do that as well. So it's Ralph Balboa, Balboa, like Rocky, 108 at Gmail. There you go. Cool. Yeah. Anytime. Feel free to hit me up. And yeah, happy to hang out for as long as y'all like. If anybody else has any questions, I'm here about this practice or any other practice. And if I didn't clear up the whole rest gone thing, you can throw some questions about that my way as well. Unified Mindfulness does have a wiki now, so if you just Google Unified Mindfulness wiki, you can look up absolute rest, gone, absolute activity you might want to check out as well. Do you lead meditations online? Paul, I do. Yeah. Drop me an email and I'll send you, what I'm doing. Yeah, I do a lot of teaching for Unified Mindfulness. I also have my own stuff that I do. I just finished the class, but I'll be doing a weekly sit probably within a few weeks. I'll be doing it every Thursday. So yeah, just drop me an email and I'll let you know about that. And I do a lot of stuff with and then I have something I do with a partner of mine, Kevin Lacroix. If anybody knows him, we do Zoom retreats pretty often. We're trying to get up to about once a month. So yeah, love for you to join any of those. Is it really Ajahn Chah's 108th birthday today? That would be wild. Thank you, Susan. Whoa, that's very cool. I didn't know that. Oh, Ruth, I know you. Yes, of course. How are you? Good to see you. Whoa, happy birthday, Ajahn Chah. Happy 108th. What a symbolic birthday to have as well. Oh, man, that's amazing. Thanks for pointing that out. Cool. Oh, I'm so glad, Ruth, that two of my favorite teachers, Andrew and Kevin. That's great. Cool. I think, this might be too early to announce, but I think Kevin and I's next thing is going to be on self-inquiry. And Chris DeMeglio, I'm having coffee with him tomorrow. We have our little Sangha meetup every Thursday. So I'll tell him you said hello, Ruth. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, anything else from folks? I'll leave you all with another little micro hit that I like to do. For those of you interested in non-duality, it can be helpful every once in a while to just ask, what is the openness before self and other appear? It kind of works with that idea of looking between thoughts. That can be a really nice kind of entry to have that insight. What is the openness before self and other arise? You can kind of ask that. There's also, I don't want to give you guys too much, but I did a sit like this for recently. There's a Dzogchen practice where you sit and then every once in a while, spontaneously you yell fat. It's pronounced or spelled P-H-A-T, but it's more of like a fat. And you startle yourself. And what that does is it kind of shakes up self and other, or observe and observed. Just like if you were startled out in the wild, you're not really thinking about anything, you're just shocked. And that can kind of invite this openness. Before things congeal into self and other, into observer and observed, it can reveal that space in a flash. And that's what that pointer does for me. What is the openness before self and other arise? Great, yeah. Oh, thank you. Yes. 9007. I'm not sure what your first name is, but thank you. I look forward to seeing you again. Yeah. And anyone else, if you want to jump on the email list and see what I'm doing, otherwise, shoot me an email. Yeah, to let you know. Yeah. Cool. If no one has any other questions, just thank you so much for joining. And if anything spoke to you today, just run with it. Yeah, bring it into your own practice. And oh, Siobhan. Oh, we've spoken before, I think, too. Yeah. Great. Everyone have a great night, and I look forward to hopefully joining y'all again. Okay, take care. Oh, okay, one more question, Paul. Great question. Relationship between absolute rest and do nothing. I could spend about an hour on this one. Well, so do nothing, just to disambiguate right off the bat, do nothing is the practice, right? So absolute rest is more the state. Uh, so the do nothing practice is simply, when you notice an intention to control your attention, you drop that intention. The way that I like to put it, that is like a little bit more simple for me, is just not getting involved. Um, so whether the mind is active or restful, whether your physical body is active or restful, whatever experience is taking place, you just don't get involved with it. So that can lead to absolute rest. Absolutely can. But it can also lead to absolute activity. And absolute now is really, that's a whole other discussion. But again, absolute rest is that flavor of non-separation, of non-separateness without form. So again, that would be the empty mind before self and other arise, that condition of wakefulness prior to that. And it's the kind of tapestry that we all are a part of. That's the non-separate part. Some people say not two, not even one. That's referring to. Absolute activity, on the other hand, is that non-separateness when there is form. I won't get too far into that because I don't want to get too conceptual. Do nothing can lead to either one. So do nothing doesn't necessarily lead to absolute rest. It can lead to absolute activity. It can also lead to just a bunch of stuff happening and no insight whatsoever. That can also happen. So I feel like I just muddied the waters. But do nothing to practice, that's not getting involved. That uninvolvement can lead to absolute rest. And that's when there's no form and there's no separation. Absolute activity, also non-separateness, but there are forms. You have your eyes open. You can, see your phone in front of you. You can see everything around you. You can hear all the sounds, but still there's this non-separate quality. Yeah, Siobhan. The absolute non-separation is absolutely real and completely amazing. Yes, I agree. But yeah, essentially, Paul, that's exactly what I was going to say. Do nothing is the technique, and absolute rest is the state. Yep, that's precisely it. It's that simple, but I did want to point a little bit to absolute activity just to disambiguate those two. Yeah, anytime, Paul. And again, you know what? Check out the wiki too. It was compiled a couple years ago by Chad Frisk and Juliana Ray, who are also both great teachers. And it was during the Compass program, which is like the last unified mindfulness teacher training. And it's like hundreds of terms. It's such an awesome document. So go check that out. It is from before we were born. Feels like that. Yeah, Siobhan, it is like that. It's exactly like that. It's before self and other arise in consciousness, if you want to call it that. It is that state of, as Tokyo calls it, primordial awareness or original wakefulness. And it's the best. We can get so esoteric about all of these different terms, but it's pretty simple, and it is the best support you can ever have in life. Instead of, again, taking refuge as this always changing body-mind, there's something, again, not a thing, but more stable and just spacious and lucid, and it's a great place to rest. And when you can rest there reliably, really just cut through suffering like that. Yeah. Ruth, I agree. These tools we have blows me away. It makes me think, like, how did I ever live without a meditation practice? That's something Shinzen said to me one time. He said it a bunch, but he said his worst fear was having to live a life without a meditation practice. And when I think back like 30 years ago, before any of this stuff, I just don't know how I got along as a solitary Ralph without these tools. So yeah, a lot of gratitude for them. Gratitude for being able to share them as well. It's a big part of my practice now. Cool. All right. Well, again, thank you, everyone. It's just like so special to be able to be here with you all. I look forward to being here again. Yeah. And anything else I want to say? You know what? I'm going to recommend a book to you all. Sky Mind by Charlotte Rotterdam. And at the moment, it is my favorite non-dual book right now. So no audio. Can you not hear me right now? Did the audio go away? Oh, is it back? I don't know why my audio is linked with my phone and not the computer. Okay, I'm going to recommend that book again. It's Sky Mind by Charlotte Rotterdam. Just Sky Mind. It's pretty new too. Yeah, I'll say it. Yeah, I'll repeat it again in case it didn't come through. Sky Mind by Charlotte Rotterdam, and it's amazing. Really good stuff. So, with that said, good night, everyone. Thank you again for coming. This was amazing, and I hope to see y'all again. Take care. Okay, take care, everyone.